Thinking from the end, not of it, is the key. I'm going to help you guys master this type of mindset today so that your manifestations can literally become unstoppable. Hey guys, welcome back to a fresh video. We are talking about your mindset and shifting it into already being in that end result. You are already in Barbados, and I'm going to touch on that point. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, why am I telling you that you're in Barbados? You're going to find out soon in this video. That is the type of mindset I'm going to help you guys embody today, gain a new perspective, some new points that maybe you don't think about or that perhaps just don't naturally come to mind, and we can be our own worst critics. That is something I picked up recently from an event I actually attended. So I think it's really important to delve into that and explain why you can easily let go of that mindset. It is something you build up every single day, seeing improvements, and therefore seeing improvements in your manifestation. So I'm going to explain all of this, how to do it, how to get on track right now in this video. On screen is everything as normal. I'm going to touch on everything that needs to be said in today's video. So stay tuned, and hope you guys listen through to the end to get all of the advice and perspectives. And now let's just get into it. You must feel it real for it to show up externally. So feel it real internally for it to literally show up in your physical reality to become a literal manifestation result. It doesn't need to be a literal tangible manifestation either. It can be something emotional, a human connection, a relationship, whatever you are manifesting. This is applicable advice for any goal that you want to achieve. It cannot seem impossible, unrealistic, difficult, and just tied into all the current objective 3D circumstances. Otherwise, you're not going to get past that hurdle. You're going to be stuck in this state of doubt, thinking in an extremely realistic way and replaying what's going on and allowing anything that does come up that's negative to push you back or say, here, see, that's proof. That's proof of, that SP doesn't want me, this isn't working out, I might just not be good enough. All those types of thoughts can come up if you do not feel it as real internally. So this is more of a Neville concept, and the whole video is not going to be about feeling it real, but that is the first key step and the thing to understand and keep in mind, and tell yourself, I need to experience it internally as real before my physical reality will make it real. Things don't show up that you don't think about, don't want, don't see as realistic, don't have an assumption tied to already. So to explain a little bit further, what does that actually look like? Well, it's thinking and speaking to yourself as if you're already in that reality. So having thoughts, visuals, you can do it as like a conscious manifesting practice of actually visualizing, meditating, but speaking to yourself and thinking as if you're already there, as if you're already in this end result, in that new reality. And it might not feel like a total 180 shift in your life. It doesn't need to, but imagine yourself in that new version of reality, because it is almost like this alternate reality where you perfectly have this goal that you really want. So feed this into your daily life. Just to expand on this point before I move on to the next bit, imagine that, you're going about your day and you're already in this reality. Well, what would it look like to have that ideal relationship? Or go, get ready and then go for your perfect work day. Have the financial stability that you want and need. What does that look like? What does it feel like? It doesn't need to be crazy. And obviously it's not, ignoring not fulfilling daily responsibilities, but mentally, internally, having fun with it. Maybe it's setting out a second dinner place, second placemat, 1 second plate that you put on the table, and telling yourself, well, my amazing boyfriend, my amazing partner, they're joining me, and that's why I'm setting up the table for 2. It's a romantic date night, and they're going to surprise me with the most beautiful gift when they arrive, something like that. Just have a little bit of fun with it. How can you just think to yourself as well? It doesn't have to be a literal action, but just imagining you're already in that reality, making it more realistic to your nervous system, the way your body's responding, and of course to the actual mind, to the subconscious. When you put your focus into this version of reality and onto one specific outcome, a literal outcome, not just a manifestation, a version of your reality, but any type of outcome in life, you are observing that, you're putting attention into that. And I'm going to explain this quantum theory even more later in the video, but essentially all other potential realities, all other possibilities are collapsing into this version of reality, because that's the version and the outcome of your 3D that you have focused on. You have held your attention and focus on having this end result, having your life include this every single day. Your reality has to literally, and all the outcomes that are coming together has to collapse into that version. So instead of pushing back, analyzing, arguing with that old version of your 3D, think from this new version, the identity you're embodying of being you with that end result. Feeling secure, wanted, confident, happy, fulfilled, whatever it may be, you are coming from that version, thinking as if, just imagining and pretending internally as if you're already there. My client recently went from not seeing movement in the 3D to literally seeing real shifts come in the 3D and actually feeling that shift. If you're ready to overcome 3D blocks, then take a look below in the description box for my coaching website for my current availability. And it's all about applying your mental diet by thinking from the end result. So it basically is a mental diet practice because it's just about the quality of your thoughts throughout the day. It doesn't have to be a literal conscious not algorithm, but process where you're just going through the motions of applying a mental diet. It's the quality of your thought. It's building up a positive, kind, conscious, self-aware mindset that's for your own, best outcome, for your own personal gain. So building this up consistently and naturally, where it just becomes the way that you think. You don't put yourself down. You don't go to worst case scenario. It's shifting into this new positive type of mindset. So applying a mental diet, which I have tons of videos that delve a lot deeper into what that looks like day to day, but just flipping around the negative thoughts. It can be as basic as that. It can just be as catching yourself in the moment and saying, nope, I'm not going down that way, that spiraling way of thinking. So you're literally shifting yourself from saying, no, we no longer automatically react that way. I'm not going to, judge my 3D and say this is what it is. I'm now going to think from being in this end result. So focus on and imagine what you want, this outcome and manifestation that you have, that you're prioritizing, as if it's already here, not as if it's something you're trying to achieve. That's the key distinction. Like I said, not thinking of your desired reality, but thinking from your desired reality. It does take time and patience. That's the hard part of dealing with what's going on in front of you and just getting on with your life, and maybe dealing with unfavorable circumstances or stress or just not having your dream life. Like, that is the norm for us humans, but it is possible to get to that point of having your dream life. It takes work, patience, resilience. These are things you have to consciously apply. And it's not that people aren't capable of it. I would say most people in the world are definitely capable of this and can incorporate this mindset, but it takes time and patience. That is pretty much the hard part as you're dealing with your 3D. So having said that, do not count the time. Don't quantify where you're at. If you put too much focus on this and you try to rush it or force it and say, well, it's not happening fast enough, or why is this showing up? And you overanalyze your current 3D, then you're going to try and force your circumstances to shift and force the outcome. That's not manifesting. That's, borderline manipulation. And you don't want to fall into that. That's not going to bring the outcome you want. And it's not going to give you long-term changes or results. If you can, in a long-term, consistent, full way, reach your desired mindset, which is going to bring in your manifestations, be confident. I've seen people comment recently on a short that I posted, and someone was super confident and other people said, I wish I had that mindset. Well, guess what? You can have it. It takes self-awareness, willpower to build it up, because you're probably going to deal with some negative thoughts up until then. And to really get to the root of the issue, you want to think about what's holding you back. So you understand, well, this is what's blocking me. This is what's making that mindset kind of hard to sustain or achieve. And thinking, okay, this is the root of where my spiraling and triggering comes in. This is what upsets me. This is why I, don't feel 100% ready, or it doesn't feel realistic to me. Understanding what people say, what shows up in your reality, what intrusive thoughts you have, or anxiety that may come up, the ego trying to protect you from rejection, all these different things that may come up in your day-to-day life, and understanding that's the root. And I think this is where it stems from. Also seeing other people maybe have the manifestation you want or be slightly ahead of you, which is subjective, and I don't think that's a good way to look at life. Yes, sometimes we all are at a point of a bad moment, a bad period in our lives, or maybe, when they say, when it rains, it pours, it might seem like things are not going in your favor. You're not where you want to be. You might feel a bit behind. That's a normal human experience. However, you want to get out of it. You want to recognize that and catch it and not fall into this victim mindset. Because if you're going to compare yourself and your manifesting journeys to others, then you are probably going to feel stressed or like, oh, it doesn't work for me, and just come up with these negative assumptions that aren't necessary. So don't try and compare yourself or have this really holistic view where you're trying to say, well, I'm here right now, but my end result is there, so, and it hasn't happened yet, and this is the amount of time. When you try and look at it from that really external aerial view of your manifestation, you are probably going to feel like you're behind or far away. That's not objective. That is very subjective, and that's probably you, again, thinking logically. If you check and judge where your current 3D reality is, it's probably going to keep you in that place, or it's going to hold you back a bit. So instead of running towards that end result naturally, you're going to be speed walking or slowly walking towards it instead, because it's slowing it down, because you keep falling back and going back to checking and judging what your 3D is showing you. So putting your focus on that new reality is literally collapsing all other potential outcomes, as I said, into this new version of reality that your focus is going into. Because atoms, everything that makes up literally everything on this planet, and everything we experience, everything tangible, like just everything, every atom is 99.9% energy. It's not matter, it's not physical matter. So that shows the power of this quantum energy, the quantum field, putting your energy and your focus and having this internal energy and mental state aligned with positives, with what you want, feeling happy, chosen, secure, fulfilled, all those things, and the thoughts tied into that is what is making literally everything up. In the quantum field, things need to be observed in order to turn into a physical form. So when you put your mental attention and visuals into even just naturally letting the visuals come up, this desired outcome, that's what convinces your subconscious mind and tells your quantum reality, yep, that's the one, that's what's going to come into creation. And what Neville says is, if you're already in Barbados, why would you speak about going to Barbados or think about going to Barbados? You would already be there, right? If you're, okay, so obviously this is kind of like a metaphor, but let's say if you're already in this relationship with SP, in your ideal reality, in your dream career, why would you think and talk about going to that, achieving it? You wouldn't. So internally, when you're thinking to yourself, use this key principle and way of thinking, this quote as reference to say, no, I wouldn't be thinking about trying to achieve it, or, what if it happens, or how might it happen? I would think to myself, wow, I'm already here. Wow, it feels amazing. I'm so glad. Like, look at all these amazing things that are happening because of it. That's how you speak to yourself. So when that internal reality and that internal shift becomes consistent and you apply at least some repetition, depending on mental resistance, that's when your 3D reality is going to catch up to that. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be consistent. So you can think of it in this way, where you are the cause and the 3D reality is the effect. So cause and effect, it's not the other way around, that your 3D reality is, just the cause of the outcome and quality of your life, and what is, shaping the effect of everything around you. And that's, you just have to accept the circumstances, they are the root. It's the other way around. Your mental mindset is the root causing the effect of what you see and experience in your 3D. It is the assumptions that are held in your subconscious mind that are shaping how you view and perceive your current reality. So it's not about taking a 3D circumstance at face value and saying, well, that's what it means, and this is my reality now. The assumptions that are already held, as well as any negative assumptions that are held, that you are replacing now with positive affirmations, repetition, your literal manifestation practices, that is shaping how you interpret your 3D, react and respond to your 3D, and therefore changing the circumstances, letting it unfold naturally, because you are changing your entire perspective. And what you're experiencing internally is literally part of your manifestation unfolding. So even if you don't yet see it in your 3D, when you feel it internally, that is a sign, that is a form of conforming, of manifestation. That is showing you that the steps along the way are coming together. They are being naturally taken without you even realizing. Your 3D might seem silent, but it's not. I also like to think that with my faith and, praying and talking to God, I'm also gaining that support. That to me is very uplifting personally. And I know quite a few of my viewers can relate. You guys have commented before that God is supporting me and, you being the best version of yourself and helping you kind of align with what's meant for you, what's for your highest good, what is meant to work out for you in the best possible way. That is what God wants for us. So taking that along the way and kind of being guided and led in that way as well, and being able to pray when I'm not 100% sure with my manifestation, or I feel overwhelmed or uncertain, I usually do find the clarity or some kind of answer or guidance that I need. So that is another amazing little element that I like to incorporate. But I'm going to finish up here. I hope you guys enjoyed, found this useful. Please do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, maybe hype up the video if you enjoyed, and yeah, leave a comment below if you got to this far. I'd love to hear from you guys. What did you think of how to move past your 3D reality and actually think from the end result? What else would you add that maybe I didn't touch on in this video? But yeah, I will see you next time.